I had a fabulous first-time experience at the hospital, and so when I decided to stay home, I was surprised at how much calmer and just smoother, and I don't know. It felt really. I don't want to say it was easy, because I don't think childbirth is ever easy, but it did feel a lot like a smoother process to me, and it felt like very welcoming to be in my own environment. So I loved it, and I would do it again. Right? Yeah.
Okay, if you were to give a tip from a mother's perspective and from a father's perspective to expectant parents during pregnancy, what would that be? A tip to have a good birth experience. What was important for the both of you?
So I think I went through my full 40 weeks, and I was so anxious at the end because I had only gone like 37 and a half with my first baby, my first son. And I was like, the last 2.5 weeks, I was like, when is this baby gonna get here? And I had such a high level of anxiety, I just couldn't calm down. And so what I would say is like, just relax as much as possible, sleep as much as possible, and don't focus on, your like level of anxiety. Mine just went through the roof. And I think I was always texting you like, we need to move this appointment earlier, the baby's coming, like I know it's gonna be here. And it wasn't. She was like exactly on her due date. So your body, like trust your body, trust what's happening. Don't try and like mentally predict don't let your mind take over your body. That would be what I would say.
Good. Vincent?
I would say, now twice before going into it the first time, kind of my only expectations is just from the movies, and so that it's like very painful, screaming baby, so it doesn't have to be like that. Both times we worked with a doula, and Ginny has been awesome, that idea of understanding what to expect, planning it beforehand, and not thinking that it has to be something crazy and painful and out of your control.
I want to second that. I think the best thing you can do is erase everything you see from the movies, like the screaming drive to the car and like this painful delivery, because it's not, in my experience, it hasn't been like that. It's been like very calm both times, very quiet, very concentrated and focused. And I feel like when you're screaming and you're so obsessed with like this pain that's happening and expressing this pain, your energy is going in the wrong direction, right? You're like putting it out, like you're screaming it, when you really need to focus and internalize it and work with your body rather than like focus on how like painful this could possibly be. Yeah. So I think the movies are awful. I think everything in the media that tells you about childbirth is just really negative for women, and you just need to surround yourself with as many positive stories as possible for yourself to have a positive experience.
Great. Why did you, for your first birth and then again your second one, why did you want to engage doula services? And how was it helpful for you as a mother and for you as a father?
Okay, so clearly we live in Singapore. We're from the United States. My mother wasn't here. And in fact, I'm glad she's not here, because looking at it would have been a totally different experience, because I can tell you about that later. So I knew that I needed someone that could kind of help me just be the maternal presence there and coach me along the way, because I didn't know what I was doing. And so that's why I engaged a doula the first time. The second time I was like, forget it, I know everything, I've done it once, I don't need a doula the second time. And I decided, oh wait, at 36 weeks, scratch that. I'm going to give birth at home. I'm not going to the hospital, and I definitely need someone that knows what they're doing, that's not just, my husband. And when I asked my friends on Facebook, like, I'm thinking about giving birth at home, who should I contact? And everyone was like, Ginny, don't do it, Ginny. It's true. Like, I got emails, I got text messages, like, everyone's like, this is a terrible idea.
Like, all our moms, our aunts,
we didn't even tell our mom.
Yeah, I had to lie to my mom and say, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
From a Facebook post of them.
Everyone was really you're going to die. It's true. You're not going to make it. And so when I decided to do that, I was like, well, I need the person that knows exactly what they're doing and will make this experience really positive. And my doula before was great, but she basically, like, we had conversations. She was really maternal. Ginny came over and we did this spinning babies thing. She came over twice, or I saw you 3 times. Like, she really gave me the full breadth of, like, this is what second labor looks like. This is how you can make it more comfortable for yourself. This is what giving birth at home looks like. She really spent a long time explaining and making things really not predictable, but comfortable and able to, I don't know, confront childbirth. Confront is not the word I want to use. That seems too like aggressive, but like take on this challenge of childbirth. And I would like highly recommend. Well, you're clearly here, so you've already been thinking about a doula, or you're working with Ginny. But I would highly recommend working with Ginny. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure, my pleasure.
I didn't pay her money just
No.
Vincent? From
Not
a father's perspective, because sometimes fathers will go, oh, will the doula actually take away the rule of what we do and all that kind of stuff?
So yeah, I wasn't too nervous. Didn't think about it too much the first time, and then
That's not
no.
true.
What I was saying before, in terms of like, oh, I don't want a doula, or
Yeah.
this is going to add that. But quickly, what then became obvious is, yeah, when you're so far away from home, you don't have then mothers, family have gone through it before. This kind of motherly advice of just what to expect was really helpful. And then, yeah, with this second birth, it was kind
You're
of
like, we know what we're doing.
yeah, we've gone
We
through it
can
once
do
before,
this.
but it was still,
Oh my
especially
God.
having it at home, then so
helpful. Yeah, it was really one of the things I was, why didn't we do this earlier? Like, why did I wait until I decided, like, I changed my entire birth plan around, like, we should have gone to a few classes. We really, like, whatever, at 36 weeks, I was positive I was giving birth. It was Halloween. I was like, this is going to be a Halloween baby. And then I was like, well, we have to go talk with someone. And Ginny had all the answers, so that was a big comfort to me.
And then just on the flip side, everybody that said don't do it, don't do it at home.
They never had an experience with it.
It's
was
just like rumors or something that they heard, but everybody that did have an experience was really positive. It was like
Yeah.
looking on a call with you, but it was everybody that had no experience that just assumed it was bad and wanted to kind of fight around it.
Yeah, people have opinions, and I think as a new mother, as a person in general, you just have to let people have their opinions and not fight with them, and just say, okay, you're entitled to your opinion, and I'm going to do things the way I feel is best for me and my family.
And one movie that was pretty influential on me that we watched.
The first pregnancy.
Yeah, what's it called?
The Business of Being Born?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Business of Being Born is a popular one.
Yeah, that changed. That's what made. I mean, so the reason I'm glad I didn't. My mother wasn't around is because my mother gave birth now 37 years ago for the first time, and so a lot of what she like knows or understands, even from my sister who gave birth in the United States, is very different from what I wanted to do. I wanted to give birth in the water. I wanted to have a drug-free experience if possible. And my mom was like, "Are you sure? Like, I think." You know, I had an epidural. Your grandmother was like passed out for 7 children, like she had gas or something. And my sister had a very medicalized experience with Pitocin and like accelerated labor, and that ended up being a really painful experience for her. So my mom just had all these ideas that like, why is my eldest daughter going for this hippy dippy like water birth? And I thought, well, it's a good thing that she's not there, because she might have been like, we need to get to the hospital earlier, you need to like, this needs to be progressing faster, because that's her experience, and that's not what I wanted to do. And anyway, it ended up being very, very positive for me, and my mom came 3 weeks later, and it was great that she arrived. And she's coming this time as well. She's coming this time as well. I love my mom. Anyway.
Any questions that you like to ask? It's your time to ask. Go for it.
With the home birth, you know when you have those moments, and I'm sure you might have had those with the really dark moments where you're like, oh God, I can't do this. Where did you get the
I didn't
result?
have like a
Really?
moment where I can't do this.
Okay.
Your body really takes over, and you go into this like animal state where you're unilaterally focused on what's happening internally, and you feel this at least this is my experience. You feel both times. You feel this connection with the baby, like, okay, this is what you need, and here's what, it's like a weird conversation. What you need, here's what I need. And in fact, like Ginny was there. My doctor didn't arrive. He was he was ringing the elevator when I was giving birth, and no one heard him. So, because I'm giving birth. And so like, the baby actually, her head came out, and I was like, Ginny, what's going on? Like, that was the one time where I was like, what's happening? Like, my first baby just came out. Like, there was no just a head. And I was like, Ginny, you have to like deliver the baby now. And Ginny says, oh no, I don't deliver the baby, I catch the baby. Like, your body has to deliver the baby. And I was like, really? Like, this is, and I actually reached down and I was like, I'm gonna deliver this baby. Like, I will finish this. And I thought, oh no, like, I'll just wait until my body finishes what it needs to do. And so I think for me that felt like 15 minutes. I think it was like 2 minutes maybe, but it felt like, it wasn't a dark place, it was just kind of like, what, this isn't what I expected. But there isn't a point where I was like, I can't do this. I think I had a really amazing yoga instructor who focused on my breathing for my entire first pregnancy. And so I would say, like, I don't know if Lamaze is a thing, but I feel like knowing how to breathe through not just pain, but like understanding.
Working with your breath, basically, to calm yourself down.
Exactly. That was a big deal for me. And I think that's where I got a lot of my strength from, was at least connecting with my breathing and connecting with my body. So I didn't have that, like, oh, I can't do this space. And I also gave myself the permission that if I did go there, if I said this isn't working for me, look, I'm not tied to anything. If I said to Ginny, no, I need to go to the hospital, I want an epidural, like, I allowed myself to say that. I didn't get there, but I don't think to come in and say, like, this is the only way I'm going to give birth, that doesn't give you the room to feel free to change your mind if you want to. So.
And yeah, I think that's important. So it wasn't that absolute, like, I have to do it only this way. Yeah, so with the birth plan, the first time it was, all right, I want to do it this way, but if there are complications or something happens, then, drugs, something else, that's on the table. So mentally being open for different options.
Yeah, I mean, we never took them, but we weren't so.
And then the difference between so I think second birth naturally happened faster, but even not having to go to the hospital, I can see things like the whole transition of getting in a car, going to the hospital kind of really set it back a few hours, and so it then stretches it out for more time.
And I didn't even want to go to the hospital the first time. Like, I had been laboring at home for quite some time, and so when we had to go to the hospital, I was like, no, I don't want to move. Like, you do become this animal, like this natural animal, and I was like, don't take me out of my den here. This is where I am. This is where I want to stay. And I lived in Tianbaru, so I was on the 4th floor of a walk-up. So I had to walk down the stairs, and it was just one of those, like, I did not want to do that.
And then the other thing during first pregnancy, so she kept going to the shower, would always want a lot of hot water. So that was at our house. We didn't have a tub, and it was a water birth at the hospital. But I think being able to get into the water earlier in the hospital, it's just more comfortable. I guess temperature-wise, it's soothing. Your body, you're not.
Tell me about it. I would like to know what you think about it.
What you told me, I'm explaining.
It's encouraging for the dads,
But then you're not standing with all your weight. You're kind of the water's.
Things I wish I knew the first time around. That I didn't. This is my own personal, like, where I wanted to be. I didn't want to go to the hospital very early because I didn't want to be forced into the Pitocin. I was really concerned about being given, like, drugs to speed up my labor. And so I stayed at home a long, long time, but I was laboring by myself in the shower, as Vinny said. And when Ginny arrived, the tub was full, and I got into the bathtub much earlier this time, and I was like, oh my God, this is such a relief from the just gravity on your belly. You don't realize how heavy. It really becomes so heavy at a certain point. Like, I spent a lot of time swimming this time just to take the pressure off, and during labor when I got into the pool, things happened really fast this time. And I think it was because I didn't have to go down 4 flights of stairs. I didn't have to get into a car. I was at home, the tub was there, I got in. My eldest son, who's 3, went to preschool, and I had a baby. Like, it happened really fast. Yeah.
Take the classes, whatever it is. Point is, you need to practice.
Yeah, I think the breathing was key for me, and has been, like, that was 3 years ago when I had birth the first time, and she left like recently after that, and so those lessons applied even for this baby. So, like, lifelong lessons in breathing.
Yeah,
really important.
Yeah. Go for it, Deborah.
At what point do you need to go to the hospital to check your babies at our store and, like, if they have jaundice or the vaccination?
That's done with the pediatrician after. So there are 2 options. You can look for a pediatrician that will come to your home at the home birth, or within 24 hours to 48 hours of giving birth, you take the baby to see a pediatrician.
So we took the baby, and I would say spend the money and have have everyone come to you. Forget it. Don't.
And then, or if you do have to leave because there was like 2 or 3 appointments, even you seeing the doctor, we try to like put it all in one day, thinking, all right, we'll be out of the house, but that was too much too early.
It was so much.
You know, 1 visit a day if you did have to leave.
I would definitely have the doctor come to my house next time.
Go for it.
An
Yep.
option to have epidural at home.
No. No. You'll have to. That's one of the reasons why people stay at home. Then because the candy bar is not there, you see, it's out of reach. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions you'd like to ask? Go for it.
Just out of curiosity, after you gave birth, what was it like with the baby in that first couple of hours?
Sure.
Yeah, how was it different?
It was really funny being at home because, yeah, we had about 5 hours before my son came home. So those 5 hours were like, actually were spent kind of not recovering, but like Vinny was obsessed that there was like blood in our bed. And so he was like scrubbing the bed. And that was our own fault. It was our own fault because we didn't put a pad down. But like, so it wasn't as what's the word I want to look
Romantic.
It wasn't. No, I thought, oh, we're at home. We're just gonna like lay in bed. Okay, so he's obsessed with this blood, and I'm like, I need a burger and French fries. Get some Uber Eats right now. So we ordered a burger and fries, and we relaxed a little bit in the afternoon. And then my son came home. He's 3, and suddenly life was crazy. Like a 3-year-old who wants to hug and kiss and touch, and is like really excited about a baby that's 7 hours old, 8 hours old. You're like, oh my god. And the next morning, it's 6:30. Rocco woke up. Rocco's our oldest. And Vinny's like, I'm exhausted. So I'm up cooking eggs and like making, no helper because she went back to the Philippines because someone died. Anyway, it was really one of those things where I was like, this is the point where I want to be in a hotel. I want someone, not a hospital because they irritate me in the middle of the night. They like want to come get your blood pressure and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I just want to sleep. But the same thing happened at home. Rocco's awake and is like, baby sister. Vinny's like, I'm exhausted. You do breakfast. I'm like, no. I gave birth. but I felt great. Like I felt good enough to like get up and make the eggs and like get him off to school. So that would be the only thing that I would say. Like I loved giving birth at home. I kind of wish all the pressures of home were not there. So I would have hired a night nurse. I would have had my helper there. You know, like people that make your life easier.
This is a 4 trimesters plug. That's why we're gonna have the birth house. Yeah. They're going from after Chinese New Year.
Oh, that's a great
So
idea.
you can give
I would
birth
sign up for
birth
that.
out of a home experience, but you have your food and everything.
Oh, 100%. I would have signed up for that. Yeah.
You did look to see if anything like that.
We did look because I heard in Taiwan they have like hotels where you stay after you give birth. For, like,
That's very
30 days.
different now. They take the baby away. and
Oh,
all
well, I
that
didn't
kind
want. Don't take the baby away, but just cook and clean for me and like take care of me a little bit. So like, if we ever have another baby, I will definitely look for that.
And one thing I was going to say, at Thompson Medical, for the first baby, we should have ordered birth. And the birth plan said, like, basically after birth, give us time in a few hours. And they really respected that. I don't think you would get that at U.S. hospital where, like, all the nurses and the doctors left the room. I think they didn't
To the point where they didn't weigh the baby, and we were calling our parents, and they were like, well, like, how tall is the baby? How much does the baby weigh? And we were like, we don't know.
The doctors didn't do that yet.
The doctors haven't touched the baby.
Just, plug that if it is they were very respectful of, like, give a few hours or maybe an hour and a half time. But again, that had to be in the birth plan and all kind of discussed beforehand.
Yeah.
So can you actually make a birth plan on paper and lay these things out?
Yeah, you do. So one of the things you do during the classes is you learn that, and then like what is reasonable, what's not, and things like that, and how to communicate that. Yeah.
Which is the whole idea is very important for the woman because rather than being in the heat of it and the emotion and making a decision, it's when you're a little bit sane-headed, what do you want?
Yeah. Any other questions? No? Thank you very much.
Sure, my pleasure. Good luck, ladies.